Weekends in 1,950 seconds, Australia had a rhythm all their own. A pattern that families followed without question, traditions that marked the end of the working week and brought communities together. If you lived through it, you can still feel that rhythm in your bones. And if you didn't, you're about to discover 10 weekend traditions from the 1,950 seconds in Australia that have completely disappeared. Small rituals that shaped Australian life and created memories that last a lifetime. Here's what weekends used to mean. Number 1, early to bed. Because Monday came early. And here's the tradition that every Australian household followed without question. Early to bed on Sunday night. The weekend was over and Monday morning came early. There was no staying up late, no binging shows, no scrolling through phones until midnight. By 8 or 9 o'clock, the house was winding down. Kids were in bed, parents not far behind. The lights would go out, the house would fall silent, and everyone would settle into sleep, ready to start the week fresh. It sounds restrictive now, but it was just how life worked. The weekend had its rhythm, and that rhythm included rest, preparation, and the acceptance that the working week was about to begin again. There was no resistance, no resentment, just the understanding that this was the pattern of life. Number 2, preparing the school and work clothes for Monday. Sunday night had a practical side too. Before bed, families would prepare for the week ahead. School uniforms would be ironed and laid out, work shirts pressed, shoes polished until they shone. Mum would check that everything was ready, lunches planned, clothes clean, nothing missing. It was a ritual that closed the weekend and set the tone for Monday morning. There was no scrambling, no last-minute panic, because Sunday night was when you got organised. Kids would polish their school shoes while sitting on the back step, the smell of nugget polish filling the air. Dad would lay out his work clothes, ready for the early start. It was methodical, almost meditative, and it gave everyone a sense of control and readiness. Today, Sunday nights are often chaotic, filled with rushing and stress as people scramble to prepare for the week. But in the 50s, Sunday night preparation was a tradition that brought order, calm, and a sense that everything was in its right place. Number 3, listening to the wireless for the Sunday night serial. Sunday evening meant gathering around the wireless for the weekly serial. Families would finish dinner, settle into the lounge room, and tune into their favourite program. Adventure stories, mystery dramas, comedy shows, whatever was on, you listened together. There was no television yet for most households, so the wireless was everything. The voices would crackle through the speaker, and you'd build the whole world in your imagination. Kids would sit wide-eyed, picturing every scene, while parents would smile at the familiar voices and catchphrases. It was appointment listening. If you missed it, you missed it. No recordings, no replays, no catching up later. That made it special, made it something to look forward to all week. The wireless brought families together in a way that felt almost magical, turning a simple wooden box into a portal to other worlds. When television arrived in 1956, the wireless slowly faded into the background, relegated to the kitchen or the shed. But for those who grew up with it, Sunday nights listening to the wireless were some of the warmest, most connected moments of childhood. Number 4, the Sunday drive with no destination. Late Sunday afternoon, after the nap and the quiet hours, many families would pile into the car for the Sunday drive. There was no real destination, you just drove. Out to the countryside, along the coast, through neighbouring suburbs, wherever the road took you. Dad would be behind the wheel, Mum in the passenger seat, kids crammed in the back, windows down, radio playing quietly. You'd pass farms, orchards, and little towns, stopping occasionally to stretch your legs or buy a cool drink from a roadside stall. It wasn't about getting anywhere, it was about being together, seeing the landscape, and enjoying the simple pleasure of movement. The Sunday drive was a chance to see a bit of the world beyond your own street, to breathe different air, to feel the openness of Australia stretching out around you. By the time you got home, the sun would be setting and the weekend would be winding down. Number 5, the afternoon nap and the quiet house. After the big Sunday lunch, the house would go quiet. Dad would stretch out on the couch with the newspaper, Mum would sit in her chair with a cup of tea, and the kids would be sent outside or told to play quietly. The afternoon nap wasn't just for the old or the tired, it was part of the rhythm of Sunday. The whole country seemed to slow down. Shops were closed, streets were empty, and there was an unspoken agreement that Sunday afternoon was for rest. You didn't make noise, you didn't start projects, you didn't rush around, you just existed in a bubble of calm. Kids learned to entertain themselves without making a racket, reading comics in the backyard or playing quietly in their rooms. It was a kind of forced stillness that, looking back, feels almost luxurious. Today, Sundays are as busy as any other day, full of sport, shopping, and obligations. But in the 50s, Sunday afternoon was a time to do absolutely nothing, and nobody felt guilty about it. Number 6. The Sunday roast prepared all morning. Sunday lunch was sacred, and it revolved around one thing, the roast. Mum would start preparing it early in the morning, while the rest of the family was still at church. By the time you got home, the smell of roasting meat would fill the house, lamb, beef or chicken, surrounded by potatoes, pumpkin, and carrots, all crisping up in the oven. The kitchen would be hot, the windows fogged up, and the whole house felt warm and alive. Lunch was served at 1 o'clock, sharp. Everyone sat down together, parents, kids, sometimes grandparents or aunties and uncles. The table was set properly, with the good plates and cutlery, and the meal was eaten slowly, accompanied by conversation and laughter. After lunch, the dishes would be washed, the leftovers carefully stored, and the afternoon would stretch out lazily ahead. The Sunday roast wasn't just a meal, it was the anchor of the weekend. The thing that brought the family together and marked the transition from the busyness of the week to the peace of Sunday. Today, Sunday meals are more casual, more varied, and often eaten on the run. But for those who lived through the 50s, the Sunday roast was the heartbeat of the week. Number 7. Sunday best and the walk to church. Sunday morning in 1,950 seconds, Australia started with getting dressed in your Sunday best. Blokes in suits and ties, women in their good dresses and hats, kids scrubbed clean and uncomfortable in their stiff collared shirts. Then you'd walk to church, not drive walk. Families would stream down the streets together, heading to the local Anglican, Catholic, or Methodist church. You'd see your neighbours, nod hello, exchange pleasantries. Church wasn't optional, it was expected, and most families attended. The service would last an hour or more, and you'd sit through hymns, prayers, and a sermon that sometimes felt endless. But it wasn't just about religion, it was about routine, community, and shared values. After church, you'd linger outside, chatting with other families, making plans for the week, catching up on news. Then you'd walk home, the whole neighbourhood moving in the same slow Sunday rhythm. These days, church attendance has dropped dramatically, and those who do go usually drive. But in the 50s, that Sunday morning walk to church was a ritual that tied the whole community together. Number 8, the backyard barbecue with the neighbours. By the mid-50s, the backyard barbie was becoming an Australian institution. Saturday evenings, especially in summer, meant firing up the brick or oil drum barbecue and inviting the neighbours over. Snags, chops, maybe a steak, if you were feeling flush, nothing fancy, just good, honest food cooked over coals. The men would stand around the barbie with a beer, debating who was the better cook, while the women set up salads and bread on a makeshift table. Kids ran wild in the backyard, playing spotlight or chasey until it was too dark to see. Everyone brought something, a plate, a drink, a pavlova. It wasn't formal. It wasn't planned weeks in advance. It was just what you did. The barbie brought people together in a way that felt effortless and genuine. You knew your neighbours, you looked out for them, and Saturday night was when you celebrated the end of the week together. Today, barbecues still happen, but they're often catered, scheduled, and smaller. That spontaneous, whole street vibe from the 50s? That's gone. Number 9. The Saturday Arvo haircut at the local barber. Saturday afternoon was haircut time for every bloke and boy in Australia. The local barber shop would be full, men reading the paper while they waited their turn, the air thick with the smell of hair tonic and talcum powder. The barber knew exactly how you liked it, short back and sides for the blokes, neat and tidy for the boys. There was no booking, no appointment system, you just showed up and waited. And while you waited, you'd hear everything. Gossip, footy scores, opinions on politics, complaints about the weather. The barber shop was where news travelled, where men caught up, and where boys learned how to sit still and keep quiet while the scissors snipped around their ears. You'd walk out smelling of Brill cream, hair slicked back, feeling sharp and ready for Sunday. These days, haircuts are squeezed into busy schedules, often at franchises where nobody knows your name. But back then, the Saturday Arvo trip to the barber was as much about community as it was about looking decent. Number 10. Saturday morning shopping at the high street. Saturday morning meant one thing: heading into town for the weekly shop. The high street would be packed with families, everyone moving from shop to shop with their string bags and wicker baskets. You'd go to the butcher for meat, the greengrocer for veggies, the baker for bread, and the haberdashery if mum needed fabric or thread. Each shop was its own little world, with shopkeepers who knew your name and your family's preferences. Kids would trail behind their parents, sometimes rewarded with a penny for a lolly if they'd been good. The whole exercise took hours, but nobody rushed. Shopping wasn't just about buying things, it was about seeing people, exchanging news, being part of the community. Men would gather outside the tobacconist, discussing the races or the cricket. Women would chat in the baker's queue about recipes and children. By midday, you'd head home loaded down with brown paper parcels and canvas bags, ready to prepare for the week ahead. Today, we drive to massive shopping centres and tick everything off in one anonymous trip. But Saturday morning, shopping in the 50s was theatre, ritual and connection all wrapped into one. So there you have it, 10 weekend traditions from the 1,950 seconds in Australia that have completely disappeared. They weren't grand or glamorous, but they gave structure, meaning and connection to every weekend. They taught Australians how to slow down, how to be together, and how to honour the rhythm of the week. Life's different now, faster and more fragmented, but those traditions created a sense of stability and community that shaped an entire generation. If you remember even one of these, you know how special they were. Which of these weekend traditions do you miss the most? And would you bring any of them back if you could? This was Retro Australia, where the past is still alive.